Good morning, dear students. Okay, welcome to the third session of the lesson, The Gardener, written by P. Lankesh. Students, as we have dealt with this chapter, so we have studied about the author and the original author for the original work in Kannada, that is P. Lankesh, and the translator, it is Raghavendra Rao. And then I have introduced many topics which help us to understand the theme of this particular essay or a story here. And even we have discussed about the pre-reading activity there and the importance of competition in one's life. Okay, the motivational factors or rivalry as such. So we have discussed a lot many things and studied the character of the old man here, and then where the owner of the plantation was in search of the same kind of man here. So luckily he got the man to work in his plantation as he dreamt, that he should be. So then finally what happens here, after the arrival of the old man here, the complete lifestyle of our owner so changes here. So due to all these changes, means not only in his plantation, in his own personality or character, but he became addicted or crowded with colorful events, and in which the wife became very apprehensive and worry about his adultery, and umpteen other vices cultivated in his life. So these were the things which made her feel unhappy or worry or put her in a fix or a confusion whether the arrival of the old man was better or for worse. And one day we have seen in the last class that he gets a chance, the old man gets a chance of meeting the wife of his owner here. He thought that it is the right situation to reveal or tell about the changes taken place in the owner of the plantation. Then, so after all, so by sitting on the embankment of the well, so he started narrating the story here, and that's what the old man began its narrative. So till here it was one story as such, and then we have another story by old man here. So that is why we say there are two plots in this story. That means there is a story inside a story, and the inside story is this here. Now the old man starts narrating his narrative here. In a far off place, once there was a man called Tamanna. He had everything, 10 acres of wetland. So in a far off place means is narrating as if it is a story here. He wanted to narrate this. He wanted to tell about the owner's changes after his arrival. So he says that in a far off place, when there was a man called Tamanna, he had everything in his life. So he had a comfortable life as such. So he had 10 acres of wetland, a comfortable house, people too ready to do his bidding. the most important among all his possessions was his rival Sangoji. Yes. So when he started narrating this story, that the character that he creates here is Tamanna. And Tamanna was leading a comfortable life with the 10 acres of wetland and so many followers to him. And they were ready to do whatever he, ordered to do them. So such a man Tamanna was. And the most important among all his possessions, means apart from his land, his followers, money, property, whatever it is, so it is more important than them was his rival Sangoji. Yes. So rivalry is main here. For Tamanna, it is not the importance that he is giving to his property here. Nowhere he considers all those things here. He considered very seriously about his rival, that is Sangoji here. So, for these people, rivalry is the important one. Rivalry is more valuable than anything in their life. So such was the mentality of these people here. Okay. Coming to the next stanza here. After proceeding this far, the old man started fumbling for words as though he had committed a mistake. Yes, see, we know that he is a worker in the master's plantation, and now he is narrating the changes that took place in the life of his master. And meanwhile, she is the owner, wife of his owner, and there might be a little bit of nervousness to tell about him, because he is his master who is about feeding him here, who has given him a work for his living here. So that is why maybe, and that is one reason. And another reason is, he is just creating situations to narrate it as a story here. And when he for the first time he started telling, so I think everyone feels the confusion here. So that is why that confusion makes him fumbling for words here. So as if so he can't get the continue communication, so to speak, with the wife here. So that's why we feel like he as though he has committed mistake or going wrong in narrating. So he was just searching for the words to speak here. She was listening. She felt like going away, saying, "All this is none of my concern." But however, unwilling to hurt the old man, she continued to sit there quietly. See, the owner there, plantation, owner's wife, she could have gone from that particular place without listening to this old man's rubbish story here. But even then, she never did that, because she thought that he is an old man, so let him, and elder man, if I do so he may feel bad. So having such feeling in her, so let her he tell, and she sat there and quietly and listening to him. The old man went on, no, and then he continued in between these things. So they understand inside the wife of the owner. So all these things have discussed, the feelings. And then, so when he continued, so again he started. No, his name was not Sangozi, it was Basavaya. So the characters he created here is, so one was Mr. Tammana, yes. And here his rival was Mr. Basavaya. Okay, so dear students, I am doing it in second time this year, because our computer department has lost this part of the class, what I am doing now. It is a repeated class for me. Okay, they have lost the clipping of this online video as such, so that is why I am repeating it. And you can imagine, so there are editings, cuttings that takes place, okay, in these clippings. Okay, if you have anywhere, if you feel like, getting the things, not in a continued manner as such, you can ask me later. You can note down that, because they are editing and cutting the things here, clippings. Okay, that time if anything goes wrong, so that is, it is only possible for you to rectify or identify that mistake or gone anything wrong. So even if I watch also, I will also identify that. So if that is the case, so please make a note of it while we meet in regular or physical classes. So you can bring it to my notice, so that we will discuss on that part of the text as such. So now is he confidently and changes his rival's name. It is not Sangozi, but it is what? Basavaya. Yes. Now listen how the competition begins between these two here. No, his name was not Sangozi, it was Basavaya. He expressed his amazement at how facts take on such varied guises when they are narrated as fiction. Yes, he knows that it is difficult to narrate. So he knows that, when he wanted to communicate or anything, so he feels like amazement how these facts, means the real things, take on various things when they are narrated as fiction. So they go wrong. So confusion, they may create confusions when we are trying to narrate it, communicate it to others. So we know that what exactly has happened. So we know that, but to communicate them, so such feelings, so we feel a little bit confusion, a bewilderment, to communicate it continuously. So that is why, so when facts, are going to be present, so there should be, confusions, and we should be careful about those things. Now, so facts, when we want to convert our facts to be as a fiction, to be as a story, another story, so then it takes a little bit, confusions. It takes time for us to, plan for what perfectly. So then we face difficulties and confusions while we converting our facts into as a fiction as such. Okay, that's what he says here, because it is his experience here. He says out from. Okay, then let that be. Next paragraph. Let that be. Let us assume his name was Basavaya. He was Tammana's rival. Okay, whose rival he is? Tammana's rival. So both are rivals here. Okay, Tammana and means enemies. What kind of enemies? All enemies. Who? Tammanna and Basavaya. And imagine there is an enmity between these two people here. So both of them wanted a competition in their life. And initial stage of their life began. So the competition was quite healthy here. People never bother anything or worried about this here because it is usual in one's life. But as it develops, as it moves on to in the further life as such, so it takes a different vision. So we'll come to that different vision later. We'll just see what type of things that happen between these people here. He was Tammanna's rival. If Tammanna bought 4 more acres adjacent to his land, Basavaya also followed suit. Yes, see, what was the competition when Tammanna bought 4 acres of land, and where Basavaya also has bought 4 acres here. So he thought that he is not lesser than this man, or he is going to be surrender before Tammanna here. He never want to lose anything from Tammanna, and even Tammanna has the same attitude with Basavaya. So they were competing with each other like this. Then, if one had 10 friends, the other acquired 15 admirers. To begin with, all this looked like healthy competition. Yes. And then when Basavaya started acquiring some friends, followers to him, and even Tammanna to follow the same thing, he also acquired more than Basavaya. Or when he started acquiring, adding friends to his life, in his village, he also started adding friends to his life. So in the meanwhile, so as it grew up and up, to begin with, all this looked like healthy competition. However, gradually it rose to such a pitch that there was no land left in the village for them to buy. Yes. So this healthy competition begins growing towards unhealthy. Like how? So they have one by one, they have bought all the land that belongs to village here. And there was no land left for these people to buy the land here now. Why? Because all the land was finished. They have bought already. And there is no land left here. If they want to buy land, so they have to move out of their village then, far places to buy. But in village, so there is no land left anymore to buy for these people here. Then all land belonged to either Tammanna or Basavaya. Tammanna had 1,000 acres and Basavaya owned 800 acres here. So all the land in that village, it belongs either to Tammanna nor to Basavaya here. So now at that time, Tammanna had 1,000 acres of land. Okay, 1,000 acres of land. Then Basavaya had 800 acres of land here. So, listen, 800 acres of land here. So, most of the land in the village belongs either to Basavaya or to Tammanna here. So this was the situation where their competition brought them to. So then, see, imagine, my dear students, so what type of competition they had here? 1,000 acres, 800 acres. And since both of these people are rivals or enemies here, and the land belongs to them is not equal here. Isn't it? It is the land of Tammanna is more than that of Basvaya here. So, do you think Tamanna will be quiet to this development here? No, never. Since they are sworn enemies here, rivals here, Tamanna never ever kept quiet here. So why? Because he has lesser land than his rival Tamanna here. He had 800 acres of land, whereas his enemy, so the sworn enemy, he had 1,000 acres of land here. And he wanted to add 200 acres of lands here. Where? But from where? There is no land left in the village. Nobody has land to sell to these people here. So that is why he planned and thought of buying 200 acres of land from Tamanna himself. So for that cause, he spent one of his followers to Tamanna to ask him that he has to sell 200 acres of, Tamanna has to sell 200 acres of land to Basvaya. When this message was sent through his follower, see the reaction and things happens here. Then see, Tamanna had 1,000 acres and Basvaya had owned 800. Basvaya could not tolerate this. He can't tolerate. He can't digest this. He sent a word to Tamanna asking him to sell 200 acres. Tamanna did not agree. He was prepared to buy all the land that belonged to Basvaya. Basvaya was mad with rage. He went along with his people and acquired 200 acres of Tamanna's land forcibly. A fence was built around that land. Tamanna could not tolerate this invasion. Yes. So what happened when he sent a man of his follower to tell Tamanna to sell 200 acres of land to Basvaya? He never agreed. How can he agree? He is also leading and a competitive life here and an enemy of Basvaya. How can he agree and give 200 acres of land to him? He never agrees anything. But at the same time, he sends the message with the same follower to Basvaya that, say, tell him if at all he wants to sell his land, I will buy all the land that Basvaya has. And when the follower went to Basvaya and he said, said all these things to Basvaya, then Basvaya could not tolerate this. Because here both of these rivals, they feel superior to each other. He feels I am superior, stronger than Basvaya. Basvaya feels that I am stronger and superior than Tamanna here. So who will convince them? Or make them understand that it is not a good or unhealthy competition here? Nobody, no. They won't listen also. They won't listen to anybody who will suggest in that manner. So then what happens? When the follower of Basvaya returned to Basvaya and he told what Tamanna said, and he could not tolerate. What? So immediately he took his followers, went to the field there, Tamanna's plantation, where he had bought the land. He acquired 200 acres of land forcibly without informing to Tamanna here. It is followers. And not only acquired, he also built fence around that 200 acres of land, and he joined it to his land. So this is the thing which happened between these people here. Do you think that it is fair on the part of Basvaya? Yes, I don't think it is fair enough here. So, but when Tamanna heard that his 200 acres of land was acquired forcibly by Baswaya, even he can't tolerate or resist this, forceful invasion of his land here. So then, look at the things, how they change here. Since both of them are enemies here, soon enemies, born enemies, the competition between these two people was going equally unhealthy here. But at the time when no land left in the village to buy, so the total land of Tamanna was 1,000 acres and Baswaya's land was 800 acres. So there is no equality in the property belongs to these people here. Tamanna had more land, 200 acres of more land with him, whereas Baswaya had 200 acres of land, less land when compared to his enemy, that is Tamanna here. So this inequality makes all these conflicts between these people here. So then what happens here? See, now Tamanna is became aggressive here for the way of Baswaya, the invasion of Baswaya on his land here. So then see what happens there. By now the quarrel between these two had sucked in all their supporters. Yes, when these developments took place in their life, so it spread to all of their followers here. The followers of Tamanna, and they were too angry here, the followers of Tamanna, because he has attacked forcefully, and they are in the followers of Tamanna there. And here also he had followers here. So these two classes became very angry here. So one cannot resist this or resist this, attack of, Tamanna's land here. So quarrel between these two had sucked in all the supporters. Tamanna was advised by his supporters about the various means available for getting back his land. So now you can see the situation was very much serious here. Every supporter is feeling very aggressive, angry on Baswaya and his followers there. And they were supporting his supporters or followers, came out with the different means and to get back his land here. So, because Tamanna is their master there, and who is taking care of these people here. So that is why everyone started suggesting some ideas to Tamanna to get back his land from Baswaya. And look at the plans and the ideas that these people were giving to Tamanna here. Okay, when the land was attacked forcibly, and the followers of Tamanna thinking like this here, there was a court of law. One could also take recourse to the police. If you did not want that, there were many number of persons ready to attack Baswaya. So, the followers or the supporters of Tamanna, they advised or suggested their master these reasons here, or what he should do hereafter here. What? They can take this recourse. So, by now the quarrel between these two had sucked in all the supporters. Tamanna was advised by his supporters about the various means available for getting back his land. There was a court of law. One could also take a recourse to the police. If you did not want that, there were many number of persons ready to attack Basavaya. Such a war had become virtually inevitable. So when they acquired 200 acres of Tamanna's land forcibly, so the followers of Tamanna came out different suggestions to him here. The first suggestion was taking this case to the court of law. And one can also take a recourse to the police station here. Recourse to the police here. And the other people also recommended him. See, there were many in number, so they can. If you did not want that, there were many number of persons ready to attack Basavaya. So ready to attack Basavaya here. So these were the means of attack Basavaya and his followers here. So these are the three suggestions that these people gave to their master, that is Tamanna. Yes. Now, my dear students, you can imagine here how the followers gave him the idea. But Tamanna never listened or take any decision of going for the suggestions that they are given by their followers here, because he wanted to give him a more competition here or teach him a very good lesson than this here. So what sort of lesson that he wished to teach him here? But Tamanna was in search of a method that could annihilate Basavaya completely. So he is searching for an idea or a plan which can destroy Basavaya completely. So he should never ever thought of giving any competition to Tamanna hereafter. So he was searching for such a method here, a plan here. Okay, method that he could annihilate means destroy Basavaya completely. He hit upon the idea of composing all his experiences in the form of ballads and singing them. So now the rivalry between Tamanna and Basavaya started moving away from things that were visible towards an invisible abstract domain. So now the angle or the line of competition changes here. So Tamanna came out with a new idea, a radical idea of giving a stiff and a competition to Basavaya here. He was struck with an idea of composing ballads and songs and singing them in front of the people. And he has to make all his experiences and Basavaya's meanness and cruelty as the subject or topic of his ballads and songs. And singing them in the public or in front of the people here. So the very idea of composing and singing the ballads is quite different here, quite distinct here. So now, see here, the competition started moving away from things that were visible and towards an invisible abstract domain here. Yes, my dear students. So the competition started moving away from the visible domain here. It is starting moving away from, say, visible to invisible. Visible to invisible domain at abstract here. And you can imagine the competition, how it became serious here. Visible means it was quite healthy competition. People can notice that the changes happening between these two people, Tammana and Baswaya here. And invisible means it became an unhealthy competition. So it gone beyond their relationship or humanity as such. So that is why the competition at this juncture of time became very much competitive, unhealthy, cruel in the life of Tammana and Baswaya here. He took the highest position in humanitarian or in their selfishness as such. So this is how the competition grew between these two people, competition between these two people, and we have seen how the changes took place in both of these places here. So that is the thing. So where we have been introduced with the rivalry, competition and friendship as such. So you can think and compare your ideas with the changes that are taking place in both the people's life here, both of them, both of their life as such. So now, we are going to complete the part where we have missed in our computer department here. I don't think I can go still deeper into this explanations here. I think you will understand it, okay, better way. And wherever you feel like, cuttings, like, continuations have been stopped because the editing is going to take place here. So be careful and follow the textbook, read the textbook and see the textbook and try to understand the lesson here. Okay, so now it's time for me to stop here. So anyway, okay, thank you and all.